Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea. I'm Whitney Baker from Electric Ideas, and this is a mini jolt, a short episode where I share quick tips, practices, and reflections to light you up with a greater sense of what's possible for you and your life. So we ushered in autumn this week, and it's a perfect time to slow down and take stock of what's going on in our lives. I don't know about you, but I've always found autumn to be a season of introspection. I feel like that kind of scattered outward, gonna have fun till the sun goes down, summer energy settles into a more predictable, cozy routine that usually supports us in being able to have a little bit of an easier time turning inward. So something I've been thinking about a lot is how much time we're willing to commit to supporting our bodies, which is wonderful. Maybe it's getting those salad greens or miles on the bike. But I'm curious how many people give even a small percentage of the same amount of attention to exploring and tending to their inner needs. And for some of my clients, I found this is a missing piece in their wellness puzzle. So my goal today with this short episode is to help you do just that. Because even in this short time together, we can get into some meaningful introspection. I want to help women show up with more purpose and more presence and to not feel like the world is dragging them by their heels. And when we take time at the onset of a new season to press pause and get really clear on what we want to call in, then it's much easier to say no to what doesn't serve us and actually prioritize what we want to show up for. So to help you practice this, I'm going to share 3 questions you can ask yourself today and hopefully throughout the week. Then I'll give you a few tips for keeping your desires and priorities at the forefront as you go about your days. So here's question 1. Think back to autumns in the past and ask yourself, what has been life-giving for me and my family in autumns past? A really simple example of this for me is going apple picking. And I feel like as my kids' schedule gets a little bit more complicated, a few more soccer games in the mix, if you know what I'm talking about. So I have to actually look at our calendars and put something on the calendar and protect it. Otherwise, it doesn't just happen. But when we do this and we don't leave it to chance and we thoughtfully make a commitment to something that's important to us and we put it on the calendar, then we get to protect it. And then it makes it much easier to say no when other commitments or invites come into play because you've already decided what is most important to you this autumn and you have it on your calendar. All right, question number 2, ask yourself this. What are you ready to shed? Just as I know pretty soon we're going to watch the leaves change color and eventually fall, autumn is the perfect season to look at nature for inspiration and let go of what no longer serves us. This could be mental, it could be physical, anything that's standing between you and living out your best life. This is just one small example from my life, but I realized I had a bunch of potentially optional homework pages and papers from the last school year built up in files that were stowed away. And now that we are obviously in the new school year, I know those are fair game for recycling. If you're a mom, you know the art and the papers and all of that physical clutter is headed your way. So this is a great time to spend a few minutes, for example, culling this so it doesn't tip into overwhelm. One more example I want to share in terms of considering what possibly could be released is something that comes up a lot in my community. And it's this whole idea of actually stepping back and evaluating the commitments you've made on committees or volunteering or book clubs, even at work. Maybe you're on special assignments, anything not essential to work and home, kind of taking stock and making sure that these long-term commitments are still energizing you. Because let me tell you something, if you're showing up half-heartedly for these commitments, or even have tipped into that resentment zone where you really don't want to be supporting something right now, you're not really being of service to yourself or anybody else. I think right now, these first few weeks of autumn are the perfect times to establish supportive rhythm for ourselves so you feel especially grounded and nourished before the holiday craziness kicks in. And one part of this can simply be deciding what needs to be released. So on to our final soul reflection of the day. Ask yourself this: what am I harvesting now that I can celebrate? I think it's really common for women to fall into this constant quest for what's next, but let's not forget to cherish what's now. So when I think of autumn, I think of bounty and harvesting. You've made some great decisions this past spring and summer months, and I'm sure you're reaping the benefits. I know in my life, I made a big decision to slow down, and instead of doing a podcast episode every week during the summer, I made a big choice to go every other week. And I'll be honest, I was a little reluctant and nervous about making this decision because I've had a lot of great momentum and I didn't want that to fall off. But I trusted myself and it ended up being the best decision for myself and the people I love because I was more at ease this summer and I feel super fueled up and have lots of fresh ideas and am energized to come back and really lean back into everything electric ideas. So look for the good today, whether it's great personal wins, deepened connections, maybe some newfound wisdom that you're putting into place. So even just by tuning into this short episode, you've given yourself a chance to be reflective, which is great. In case you really want to leverage autumn for a bit of a deeper practice with self-inquiry, here are a couple quick suggestions. Here's a challenge. I think it's really easy for us to look at our cell phone right away in the morning or race to get the day started. But what if you started your day by asking yourselves one of these questions and just kind of sitting in silence with it? If you already have some sort of morning routine, I'm always in the YDY camp, you do you. But if it involves meditation or prayer or going to the gym, whatever it is, you could blend a little self-inquiry into what you're already doing. For the gym goers, maybe use your stretch out time to go within instead of mentally racing off to your to-do list. This is a practice that can be very grounding. Secondly, obviously, you could journal about these if you want to try that. I just want to remind you, you don't have to be a writer or have any experience to do this. If you've never tried journaling as a form of self-inquiry, you might give it a roll and see what you discover. I think written prompts like the ones I've provided can help you clarify your thoughts and your feelings and your priorities. And sometimes putting pen to paper can just change the way we're looking at something and lead to some pretty great insights. One more quick practice I just want to share that you could try. You could post these questions or any soulful questions that intrigue you somewhere where you will see them regularly, like your mirror or your desk. Seeing your questions regularly will encourage you to have this sort of intentional self-reflection at the forefront. Also, by keeping these questions visible and something that you're just naturally interacting with throughout the day, you're essentially handing them over to your subconscious mind to work on them in the background. This is just something to try. Sometimes we have to try different things to experience different results, and having these really soulful questions around you throughout the day might lead you to have some aha moments and insights when you're least expecting them. I hope this short episode gave you a chance to pause and remember that as we usher in autumn, we can be intentional about pausing amidst this ever noisy world, going within and getting some clarity. When we're really clear on what we want more of in any given season, what's truly going to nourish us, it's so much easier to protect our priorities. If you want to go a bit deeper with your introspection, I invite you to try out my free 5-minute guided meditation called Show Up for Your Best Self if you haven't already. There's a link in the show notes, or you can email me at whitney@myelectricideas.com. Again, that's a guided meditation. It's just 5 minutes. It's a really nice opportunity to press pause and check in with yourself as we transition into what I hope is a beautiful autumn season for you. That's it for today. If this episode stirred something for you, please share it with a friend who would also enjoy it. Who knows? It might lead to a deeper, more meaningful connection or conversation the next time you get together. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have an inspired day. I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.